Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good
So
morning, sir.
you see, yes, this is the last class actually, last week before the first semester teaching will be over. So as all of you know, 12th is the last day of your first semester teaching and 11th is a holiday. So there was a class in 11th and you have got a lab also. So really we will be in problem for your section. So what we will do, actually you have got a class, anybody you have got a class today and your lab will be I cannot get the lab, otherwise I would have taken 2 hours during the lab because that is a holiday on 11th Mahasivaratri. So you will have got another one class only, and that class is hopefully on uh, Friday or what, I don't know. So what can we do? Can we take a extra class kind of thing in the coming week on Tuesday? What is your class load Tuesday?
Sir,
Yes,
tomorrow?
tomorrow
10 to 1.
10 to 1 you have got class,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
and after
Yes,
one
sir.
Yes, sir.
after 1 you are free.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
So if I will give you a lunch break from 1 to 2 and we can take a class from 2 to 4, because your lab which was scheduled to be held on Thursday, that 2 hours we can get tomorrow from 2 to 4, and I can cover the entire course because now the course has been completely reduced. Okay, so it will not take much time. So all of you who are present, almost 66 are present. So we have got a class tomorrow from 2 to 4. Accordingly, I will send a message to the central team and they will also adjust your class accordingly. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now you just tell me. We have already covered how many where we were there in the last class. Yes, I think.
Sir, rotation
Uh,
body.
yes, yes, yes. Please tell me.
Sir, rotation of rigid body.
No, chapter 9 was over, so we are in chapter 10. Is it okay? Yes. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay. So you just tell me, we have completed chapter 9 or chapter 10, where we were there actually, so that we can immediately I can pick up from there and we can start. You just tell me, there is already 5 minutes gone. Yes, tell me.
Sir, we were at rotation of rigid body and doing cylinder problem.
Doing cylinder problem. No, can you say which cylinder problem? 10 point,
9.8.
10.8,
Example
yes.
9.8.
10.8. Good. 10.8. Now I understand. 10.8. We are doing 10.8.
No, sir,
What was
9.8.
Sir, chapter 9.
9, sir.
chapter 9.8? So we are still very 9.8. Okay, just wait.
Yes, sir.
Just wait. 9.8. So let me see what is there in this chapter. So just wait. This is a revised lesson plan, but this plan has again been revised. So 9 is 9.8. 9.8 we have covered, isn't it? 9.8 we have covered. Then 9.11, 9.40, 9.59 are assignment exercises. So I think chapter 9 is over. So we can start from chapter 10. Okay. Is it okay? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are
Okay.
audible.
So we will start from chapter 10. Okay. So I will 10. Okay. So straight away we will do the problem. So that will be better. So first let me do chapter example 10.1. 15, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. But 11th chapter is hardly it will take 10 minutes. Very small chapter. 13 is a big chapter. Otherwise, all chapters are very small. And again, they have truncated many parts. So you need not worry. All these assignment exercises solution. And most important thing is the examination pattern is of MCQ type. So there will not be any problem. You just wait. So example 10.1. So let us start with immediately so that we can go quickly. Example 10.1. I am reading out the question. How you are going to find out torque. Torque is responsible for rotation of a body. So there is some kind of piston like this. It can rotate from here. This point is normally known as fulcrum, about which, or a hinge, and this is your horizontal. With the horizontal it is making an angle. That angle is given, that is 19 degree, 19, and the length is this length from this point to this point. It is 0.80 meter, 0.80 meter, 0.80 meter, and a force is being applied like this. You see a force is being applied like this, and this force is 900 Newton. This force is 900 Newton. Okay. So this force is 900 Newton. This how to find out torque. Torque is a vector quantity. It is represented by a Greek symbol which is pronounced as a tau. So this tau is equal to R cross F. How you are going to find out this R cross F? That means it has a magnitude and it has a direction. The direction is governed by right hand thumb rule, as is being governed by the cross product of two vectors. And its magnitude is tau is equal to RF sine phi. R is the magnitude of the position vector, F is the magnitude of the force, and sine of the angle between vector R and vector F. So this angle is phi. This is actually phi. That means this phi. I am writing it like this. So now how to find out phi? That is a very important task. So what you are going to do, you just extend this line of force like this in this direction, and you can extend this R in this direction. So this becomes the direction of R. This becomes the direction of your F, and you can choose your origin here as the fulcrum. And so this becomes your x-axis, and this becomes your y-axis, and the fulcrum becomes your origin O. Okay, now you see this angle is your phi. So 19 degree is not your phi. So phi will be how much? This is 90 degree. So this angle is 90 degree. So this angle will be 71 degree. So 180 degree minus 71 degree is 109 degree. So this phi is equal to 109 degree. So how you are going to find out its magnitude? You will find out, in place of R, you will write 0.8. So 0.8, I have written it as 8 by 10. Magnitude of F is 900 Newton. So into 900, and then sine 109 degree is sine 90 degree plus 19 degree, which is equal to cos 19 degree. So I will find out the value of cos 19 degree. So if I do the mathematics, then I will get, just wait, then this zero get cancelled. then 720 into cos 19 degree, which will give you a value of 680, and the unit is Newton meter, because sine phi doesn't have a unit. R is meter, F is Newton. So 600 Newton meter is the rotational, is the magnitude of your torque. Okay, about this point, because once this point is changes, the torque's magnitude will also change. Okay, this is one way of finding. Another way of finding is tau, the magnitude of torque, is equal to magnitude of force into the lever arm. Lever arm. What is called a lever arm? Lever arm is the perpendicular distance between the line of action. This is the line of action of the force. And what is the perpendicular distance? This one. The distance of the line of action from the point of rotation. This is the, and what is its value? It is nothing but cos 19 degree, because it is a right angle triangle. You look at this triangle. So this is the base and this is the perpendicular. This is the hypotenuse. So the base is cos 19 degree. So again, you get the same value. But my advice is that try to follow only one method, that is RF sin phi. So that will eliminate all kinds of confusions. So here also the same thing, because L is now F R cos 19 degree, because L is R cos 19 degree. So you get the value of torque as 690 Newton meter. Its magnitude. And what will be its direction? Now R cross F. R means you have to place all the four fingers. FOUR4, matlab charo fingers ko, you have to keep it on the R axis, and then you have to curl your fingers towards F. You have to curl your fingers towards F. Then the direction of your thumb will point in the direction of R cross F or torque, and that is perpendicular to the screen of your mobile or screen of your laptop or screen of the computer and coming out of it. So that is what is the direction of the torque. So we have mentioned the direction of the torque and also the magnitude of the torque. Okay, so this is example 10.1. Now immediately we'll go to another. So if you have understood this example, then immediately we can do a test your understanding, and I will test whether you have understood it or not just by drawing a diagram, and that is test your understanding. And these will be asked as multiple choice type of questions, because these are small questions and this has the potentiality your understanding 10.1. Test your understanding 10.1. So test your understanding 10.1. So what is 10.1? Again, there is a Excel kind of thing like this. This angle, this is the point of rotation. Which one is the, this is the point of rotation. This angle is again given with the horizontal, which is theta, and this length is L from this fulcrum or this point of rotation to the point of application of the force is L, and this value is P. This is capital P, the magnitude of the force, and this is how, what is the direction of the force, how it is applied. And you have to find out the magnitude of the torque. Okay, and there are 4 options, and I will be reading out the options and you have to just tell me. So the figure shows a force P being applied to one end of a lever of length L. This length, as I mentioned you, it is L. Okay, up to this. Okay, and what is the magnitude of the torque of this force about point A? This is point A, and you have to find out the magnitude of the torque. What are the options? A, PL sin theta. B, PL cos theta. 3, PL tan theta. 4, PL. Yes, tell me. What will be the
PL cos theta.
PL cos theta?
PL
Yes,
cos
that is,
theta.
yes, that is right. PL cos theta, because your line of action of the force is like this. This is the fulcrum, and this is the perpendicular distance, which is nothing but your lever arm. So P into lever arm, PL. So P is P, and the lever arm L is L cos theta. So PL cos theta is the correct answer. Or you can also do it in different way. You can extend this direction. So this becomes your phi, this angle, and this phi is nothing but 90 degree plus theta. This phi is equal to 90 degree plus theta, and sine 90 degree plus theta is cos theta. So again you get PL cos theta. So in whatever way you will do, you will find out the same magnitude. So you are correct. So that is test or understanding 10.1. Okay, now we'll go to another example, which will also explain us another concept. So once I will do it, you can understand. That is 10.5. Yes. Now I'll go to example 10.5. So you just look at the things. Just wait. What is example 10.5? Example 10.5. Example 10.5. Example 10.5, let me draw the diagram first. So there is an inclined plane, vertically inclined plane like this. You see, this is the inclined plane. And on the above, there are 6 objects placed here like this. There is a hollow sphere. There is a solid sphere. Solid sphere is like this. I have made it like this. There is a hollow ring. There is a solid ring or a disc. This is a disc. There is a hollow cylinder. And then there is a solid cylinder. So solid cylinder, I have kept it like this. Like this. So all this kind of, so these are all solid. These are all solid. And the other 3 figures are hollow. And I have chosen 3 different shapes. What are these shapes? I have chosen a ring. Solid is called a disc. I have chosen cylinder. And then I have chosen sphere. Okay. Cylinder and then sphere. Okay. Now tell me whether a same mass of 2 shapes, where the moment of inertia will be more, in a hollow shape or in a solid shape. Can you guess? Just quickly you tell me, because we don't have time. Either you have to say immediately or I have to.
Solid.
Solid. Okay. Now I will give you an example, and then again I will ask you the same question, and then you will say whether you are right or wrong. Okay, let me explain. Now suppose how moment of inertia is found out. Moment of inertia of any mass is equal to the mass m into the distance from the axis of rotation, perpendicular distance from the axis of rotation, which is r square. So I is equal to mr square. So I will be more if r will be more, and I will be less if r will be less, because m is constant. Now let us see. Suppose I have got a hollow sphere of same mass m. And this is the axis of rotation, and I want to find out the moment of inertia. Now this is my capital R. R is the distance. Now all these masses are situated on the rim or edge. So each mass is at a distance of R. So I can say that the moment of inertia of a ring about an axis passing through its center and perpendicular to its plane is mr square. That I can say. Okay. Now what I will do in a solid disk, I will, instead of putting all the mass at the edge, I will distribute the mass throughout its body. And then again, I want to find out the moment of inertia. So now there will be more mass which are very close to the axis of rotation. So they have small r, isn't it? And few small mass, they are at a distance of capital R. In the earlier case, all mass are at a distance of r. That's why you are getting mr square. Now, lot of masses are close to the axis of rotation. So your moment of inertia will increase or decrease. Yes?
Decrease.
It will decrease. So you are right or wrong?
Wrong.
Yes.
Wrong.
Right. Yes, right. So solid object always has a lesser moment of inertia than a hollow object of same shape and same mass. That you must understand. Now, what is the moment of inertia of different shapes? That you must remember, because now you are not required to derive the moment of inertia. So ring moment of inertia mr square. When the same ring masses are distributed throughout its body, then it becomes a disk and its moment of inertia reduced. It becomes half mr square. Okay. So here you have got a 1, but now that 1 is replaced by half. Half is 0.5. So the first one is of hollow ring and the second one is of solid ring. Okay. Similarly, hollow cylinder has a moment of inertia which is equal to mr square. The cylinder has also same moment of inertia, mr square. And solid cylinder have a moment of inertia which is equal to I is equal to half mr square. Okay, half mr square. And then you see how I am going to do this question without doing any mathematics. That is very important. And for a sphere, hollow will have a moment of inertia which is 2 by 3 mr square. That is 0.7 mr square, 2.3 mr square. And what is the moment of inertia of a solid one? Solid one will be 2 by 5, that is 0.4, 2 by 5 mr square. How I have got this number is none of your business, because you are now not required to derive this expression. Now, if I want to represent the moment of inertia of all these bodies, then I can have a general formula for all these things. Why? Because now I can write the moment of inertia of a ring or a cylinder or of a sphere, whether of hollow or solid nature, of mass m, I can write the moment of inertia as I is equal to c mr square, because everywhere you have got that mr square, only difference lies in the number. Here c is 1, here c is 0.5, here c is 1, here c is 0.5, here c is 0.7, here c is 0.4. Now, if you have understood all these things, now let us find out which object. The question says that all these 6 objects are placed at a height h from the ground, and they are all at rest, and then they are allowed to fall to the ground. Now, which object will reach the ground at the earliest? That is the question. Can you guess? Can you guess and tell me, so that we will test whether your guess is right or wrong? Now tell me, did you listen to the question, what I was telling? Yes, anybody, Asutosh or anyone?
Sir, all solid cylinders have the same shape.
No, my point is that, can you guess which object will reach the, just your guess may be wrong or right, that is not important, but what is they are running in your mind? If you have, of course, not seen the book and the answer, if you have seen the book or the answers, then you have missed that freshness, because I will not be impressed by your answer. If you give a right answer, then I will be very much impressed, and if you give a wrong answer, I will be disappointed. Not like that. My point is that that sense of adventure will be lost if you have earlier seen the book. That is very important. So you should be fresh in your mind, and you can guess. If you have guessed it correctly, fine, why you have guessed it. So can you say which object out of all these 6 objects, which will touch the ground earliest? Your answer should be number 1, you don't know. Let us discuss a little bit further, and then again I will ask you the question. So when I ask you such a question, your answer should be, I do not know. So that's better. Then we will discuss. Now tell me, when this object, all these 6 subjects will fall down, they will, and once they will start their motion, how many what type of motions each of them will possess? Yes. Immediately you reply.
Translational and rotational.
Yes, very good. Translational and rotational. All of them have same energy. इसका मतलब है each of them started with same amount of energy with their pocket. I have fed them. Fed मतलब उनको खिलाया. I have fed them with same amount of energy. Can you say what is the energy? If all of them have same mass, for the time being, let us assume each of them possess how much energy? mgh. Because that is the potential energy each of them possess at a height of h. Gravitational potential energy. सबके पास mgh amount of energy is there. Now, out of that mgh energy, each of them will spend that energy in two ways. What will be one way? One, because they are rotating, some amount of energy will be spent in rotation. Because they are translating, the rest amount of energy will be spent in translation. Now, the next question is, second important question I am asking. Now, the second question is, to reach the ground earliest, which motion is important? Rotation or translation?
Rotation.
No. Rotation will not take a body from one point to another point. That you must understand. Because rotation happens at a fixed point either about a fixed axis or the axis may change. But where the object is coming from a point A, suppose from a point 1 to a point 2, not due to rotation, but due to translation. Translation can take a body from one point to another point. But rotation always is responsible for rotating the body at a fixed location, either about a fixed axis or the axis can also change. So rotation is not responsible for taking the object from one point to second point, rather translation. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the third question. So out of the mgh amount of energy, that body is intelligent who will spend less amount of energy in rotational kinetic energy and more amount of energy it will keep for its translation. Because जिसके पास ज्यादा translational energy होगा, or the body which will keep more translational energy for itself and only spend least amount of energy in rotation, then that body will reach the ground earliest. Is it clear? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes. The next question is, which body will spend least amount of rotational kinetic energy? Now, rotational kinetic energy formula is half I omega square. So ultimately, each of them will be rotating with the same angular speed. Okay. So ultimately, rotational kinetic energy will depend upon this moment of inertia. So a body which will possess least amount of moment of inertia will spend least amount of energy as rotational kinetic energy and keep more amount of energy for translational kinetic energy. So whose I is least out
Solid
of all
sphere.
these 6 bodies?
Solid
Fair.
sphere.
Solid sphere. Solid sphere moment of inertia is 2/5, which is 0.4, because you have got 0.4, 0.5, 0.7 and 1. So 0.4 is the least. So the rotational kinetic energy that solid sphere will spend for itself is only 0.4 or half into 0.4 omega square. Forget about all the other thing. That means more amount of energy the solid sphere has kept for translational kinetic energy. So naturally, the solid sphere will reach the ground earliest. So that object is intelligent, which spends least amount of energy for rotation and more amount of energy it keeps for translation. Now I will do the mathematics. 1 minute, because this is most important. That's why I have discussed all these things.
Sir.
Now, yes. Have you got any
Sir.
question?
Yes, sir. Why omega will be constant?
Why omega will be constant? Because each of them will start with a 0 and all of them, the torque that is being applied is same. That's why they will, because the mass is same, so mg will be the force, will be same, so same torque is being applied. That's why the angular speed will also be same. Okay. Did you understand? Or if you have not understood, then I will tell you in another way, because there is no external torque. Torque is equal to external torque applied on this body is 0. So it will have a conservation of angular momentum. So conservation of angular momentum, which we will discuss little bit later. So I1 omega 1 is equal to I2 omega 2. Okay. I1 omega 1 is equal to I2 omega 2. Okay. I2 omega 2. So this initial angular speed is 0. So the final will be how much? Just wait. So your question was why omega will be same for them. So one thing, let us do a little bit of mathematics. Probably this omega will not come into picture. Let us see. Yes, who has asked that question?
Sir, me, sir, Ashutosh Ranjan.
Asutosh. Okay. Asutosh, one thing I will be doing, your question is very right. So I should not be in a hurry to answer that question. Maybe you will discuss whether that omega will be same or omega will be different. You have spotted a very right thing. So maybe I am right or I am wrong. I don't know. So let me do little amount of mathematics and see whether omega is coming into the picture or not. Okay. As far as that logic is concerned, almost I am almost correct in the sense that rotational kinetic energy being spent by the solid sphere is the least. That's why it will have more amount of translational energy with it, so which will give it a greater speed. So I think this mass and all these things will come into this picture or not. But your question is very valid. Let us do a mathematics. So now you see the total energy is conserved. This is the initial point I have mentioned as 1. When all of them will reach the ground, I have mentioned it as 2. So now I will write E1 is equal to E2. E1 is the total mechanical energy, which is K1 plus U1. U1 is the gravitational potential energy, and that is equal to K2. K2 is the kinetic energy final, and U2 is the potential energy final. Okay, all of them are initially at rest. So K1 is equal to 0. This part is 0. And all of them will come to the ground. So their potential energy will be 0. So U2 will be 0. So finally, you will get the conservation of energy as U1 is equal to K2. So what is U1? U1 is mgh, isn't it? Mgh. And what is K2? K2, now you have two parts. One is half I omega square, half I omega square, and the second is half mv square. Half mv square is translational kinetic energy, and half I omega square is rotational kinetic energy, half mv square. Okay, so now what will happen? Just wait. So half I omega square, I can write it as half I omega square. I am writing it as half in place of I c mr square. C is a constant which can take different values for different shape. So c half c mr square, and in place of omega, omega is equal to because VCM is equal to R omega. VCM, center of mass, is equal to R omega, that part R omega. So I can write my omega as VCM by R. So omega square is VCM square by R square, VCM square by R square. Okay. So R square get cancelled. So you get half CM VCM square plus the other half MVCM square, half MVCM square, because all objects per translation is equivalent to the translation of the center of mass. If you want to take it as a point particle, then the center of mass will represent the whole body. Okay, now you see you have got M here, you have got M here, you have got M here. So M can be cancelled. Multiply by 2. So now this becomes 2GH. This half will get cancelled. This half will also get cancelled. Now you will get VCM. So if you take common VCM, so VCM will now be equal to square root of 2GH divided by 1 plus C. 1 plus C. So in the translational motion, the mass and the angular speed are not coming into picture. Ultimately, the center, the velocity, linear velocity depends upon C. So the denominator will be more if C will be more and VCM will be less. If C will be less, 1 plus C, the denominator will be less and VCM will be more. And C is the least for the solid sphere. So 1 plus C will have the smallest value and VCM will be highest for solid sphere. So this is the mathematics tell. But Asutosh, your question is still valid. I think I should spend some time and I will answer your question in the next class. Okay, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is how you can do the mathematics also. Now this brings us to the next part of the question. Just wait. Have I got a 10.1 and 10.10? Oh, now it has been still reduced. So unnecessarily we do the 10.5, but 10.5 is a very important discussion. So let us, so now they have reduced it, only 10.1 and 10.10 only there. So 10.5 is not there. Okay, already I have done test your understanding 10.1 for you. Then immediately I am doing test your understanding 10.4, 10.5, and then I will do example 10.10 for you. Okay, so 10.4 test your understanding. What is 10.4? Yes, this is a very good question. And this will be asked in the MCQ. Very important questions. So let us discuss about these questions. So what is this question says? Just wait. Why is my white board? Okay. So let me, we have got 20 minutes and I have to finish all this test your understanding and the examples. You should be little bit, again, in the discussion, a lot of physics will come. So you need not worry. Test your understanding 10.4. Test your understanding 10.4. I am reading out the question. You apply equal torques to two different cylinders. You have got a cylinder A like this, and you have got a cylinder B like this. Okay. Suppose another cylinder which is known as B. Now you apply equal torques. That means you apply tau Z to this torque, this cylinder A, and also you apply the same torque tau Z to this cylinder. And the moment of inertia of this cylinder is IA about an axis passing through like this. This is your Z axis. Okay. Similarly, here also the moment of inertia about the same axis IB. Okay. But there is a relationship. IA is equal to 2IB. The moment of inertia of cylinder A is twice the moment of inertia of cylinder B. Okay, this is 2IB. Okay, now both of them were at rest. Now what happens when you apply this torque, all of them rotate and each of them perform one complete rotation. This cylinder also perform one complete rotation. The other cylinder also performs one complete rotation. Okay, this also perform one complete rotation. Now the question is, after one complete rotation, which cylinder has the greater kinetic energy? Okay, initial kinetic energy of cylinder A, Ka, is equal to 0 because the cylinder is at rest. Similarly, Kb initial 1, you can Ka1, you can write. So 1 is for initial, B is for name of the cylinder, 1 is for initial kinetic energy. So Kb1 is also 0. Now the question asks you, what will be Ka2, cylinder A's final kinetic energy? How much it will be? And similarly, what will be the kinetic energy of Kb2? Okay. Okay. Any guess? Any guess? Quickly you guess and tell me. Any guess? Which kinetic energy, final kinetic energy will be more? Quickly say. We have, because we have to do
Sir,
one more. Yeah.
I think same for both.
Yes, please tell me quickly. If you have anybody can guess and tell me. Yes, if you have not seen the book, it is not easy to answer this question. That is very important because, can you guess? आपको क्या लगता है किसका kinetic energy ज्यादा होगा? Which kinetic energy will be more? Final kinetic energy. Anisa Rai is telling that same for both. Have you seen the book, Anisa? Have you seen the book? Now you see, I am least interested in your answer in the sense that he say, now you have to argue why the kinetic energy changes. Can Anisa tell you? Anisa, can you tell why? You tell if you can speak, because Anisa, why the kinetic energy will change? Why the kinetic energy of the will change? Why the kinetic energy will change? Anyway, now you see she is not responding. Okay, kinetic, you know from work energy equivalence principle for linear motion that if you do work, then kinetic energy changes. That is the work energy theorem. K2 minus K1. You know, unless you do work, kinetic energy is not going to change. So ultimately, if you want to find out K2, then how you must know two things. You must know the initial kinetic energy of the body and what is the amount of work done. Then K2 will be less than K1. If W is positive or move, then the K2 will increase. If W is equal to 0. But the same thing also works in rotational motion. In rotational motion also, the rotational kinetic energy, final kinetic energy will depend upon the initial kinetic energy and the work done. Okay. Now for both these cylinders, the initial kinetic energy is 0. So ultimately, if same amount of work is done on the body, then their kinetic energy, final kinetic energy will be same. Let us find out how work is found out in rotational motion. As in translational motion, work is found out if your force is constant, then you can find out the work done by multiplying the force with the displacement. Similarly, here also a constant torque is applied. So you can, am I audible? I am audible, but probably you are not able to see my screen. Is it?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir.
So here it is trying to reconnect. So I have connected from my system and from the from my mobile. So mobile is not betraying me, but the system is putting me into trouble. Anyway, if the system doesn't come, so we don't have no internet access bol raha hai. Anyway, I am explaining it. If you are not able to see the screen, then I cannot do anything because it is trying to reconnect. But still I am connected to you through the mobile. So what he is telling, if your torque is constant, then and your angular displacement is also constant, then you can find out the work done in rotational motion as the product of torque into angular displacement. What is the torque? Because in both the cases, you have applied the same torque, tau z. And what is the angular displacement? All of them have started from zero, both the cylinders, and they have completed one rotation. One rotation means how much degree? 360 degree or 2 pi radian. So your angular displacement is 2 pi radian, your torque is tau z. So in both the cases, the amount of work done is same, 2 pi tau z. Because the work done is same, so when you add it to the kinetic and initial kinetic energy, because both have the same initial kinetic energy of 0 and the same amount of work is done on both of them, so naturally the final kinetic energy of both the cylinders will be same, isn't it? Okay, so that is test your understanding 10.4. So it is still trying to connect. So we'll go to the next part, just wait. So once it will 10.5. So I am reading out 10.5 and we will discuss 10.5. Test your understanding, right? Test your understanding 10.5 and I am reading out the question. A ball is attached to one end of a piece of string. You hold the other end of the string and whirl the ball in a circle around your hand. Okay. Bit A, if the ball moves at a constant speed, is its linear momentum P constant? Why or why not? Is its angular momentum L constant? Why or why not? Okay. Are you able to understand the question? Anissa. Anissa is very shy probably. She prefers to answer questions in chat box. Anyway, so what is the important thing? A ball is attached to one end of a piece of string. You hold the other end of the string and the ball in a circle and you whirl the ball in a circle around your hand. So we have to find out the linear momentum and the angular momentum. What is the value of linear momentum? P is vector P is equal to mv. So what happens, because P is a vector quantity and V is also a vector quantity, and continuously the direction of the velocity is changing. So V is changing. So mv is changing. So P is changing. So naturally your linear momentum's magnitude is constant, but linear momentum is not constant. It is changing. So if the ball moves at a constant speed, is its linear momentum P constant? No, the linear momentum is not constant because linear momentum is a vector quantity. It depends upon the magnitude and direction. So though the speed is constant, the magnitude of momentum is constant, linear momentum, but it has a direction and the direction is continuously changing. So the linear momentum P is not constant. That is the reply. Second, is its angular momentum L constant? Angular momentum L is equal to R cross P. Are you able to understand? So R cross P means always whatever the direction of the P may be, always L R cross P is a vector which will point in the direction, in the anti-clockwise direction or clockwise direction. L vector is always point either perpendicular to the plane coming out of it or going into it. So L will be constant. Its magnitude is also constant. Its direction is constant. So that is why linear momentum is not constant, but L is constant for a ball moving along a circular path with a constant speed. Are you able to understand? So because R is constant, its magnitude, why its magnitude of angular momentum will be constant? Because angular momentum magnitude is equal to L is equal to mvr. M is constant, V is constant, R is constant because the circle's radius is constant. Speed is constant. That is what the question says. Mass is constant. So definitely magnitude is constant. And the direction is also constant. The direction either points upward or downward. Okay. But P is not constant. Vector P is not constant. Magnitude of P is constant. So that explains, test your understanding, 10.5. Now we'll go to 10.10. The last example, 10.10. We have got still. So let me see. Here the network is not there. So I have to read out the question and I will explain the question so that you can understand. There is a physics professor who is standing on a turntable because the turntable can rotate. Now the physics professor initially stretches his hands. Both the hands are being stretched. So one hand, in both the hands, he is carrying dumbbell and the mass of each dumbbell is 5 kg. And in a stretched position, the distance of the dumbbell from the axis of rotation, which passes through the head to the toe of the professor, is 1 meter. So its outstretched arm is 1 meter long. Okay. Or you can say each dumbbell is at a distance of 1 meter from the axis of rotation. Okay. When the professor brings the dumbbell close to his stomach, then each dumbbell is at a distance of only 0.2 meter from the axis of rotation. The professor's moment of inertia without the dumbbell in stretched position is 3 kg meter square. And the professor's moment of inertia without the dumbbell in unstretched position, that means when he is bringing his hands close to his stomach, at that time his moment of inertia is 2.2 kg meter square. Now you have to find out that if initially he is making one rotation in 2 seconds, how many rotation he will make in the second case when he is bringing his dumbbell close to his stomach. That we have to find out. One of the most important thing of angular motion is moment of inertia. The conservation of angular momentum. The angular momentum of a rigid body about an axis of rotation is written as I omega. So I1 omega 1 is equal to I2 omega 2, or omega 2 is equal to I1 by I2 into omega 1. What is I1? I1 is the moment of inertia of the professor without the dumbbell plus moment of inertia of the 2 dumbbells. So what is the moment of inertia of the professor without the dumbbell? 3 kg meter square. With 3 kg meter square, we will add the moment of inertia of 2 dumbbells. Each dumbbell's moment of inertia is 5 into 1 square is 5 kg meter square. The other dumbbell has also 5 kg meter square. So 5 plus 5 is 10 and 3. So 13 kg meter square. So the professor in his outstretched position has a moment of inertia I1, which is 13 kg meter square. When he is bringing the dumbbells close to his stomach, what is the moment of inertia? 2.2 plus now each dumbbell's distance is 0.2. So mass is 5. So 5 into 0.2 square. 0.2 is 2 by 10. So 2 by 10 square is 4 by 100. So 5 into 4 by 100 is 1 by 5. 1 by 5 is 0.2. 2.2, 2 into 0.2 is 0.4 because we have got 2 dumbbells. So 2.2 plus 0.4 is 2.6. So now in the second position, when the professor has brought his arms close to the chest, close to his stomach, it is 2.6 kg meter square. So 13 kg meter per second, kg meter square is 5 times 2.6 kg meter square. So if the moment of inertia decreases by 1/5, then the angular speed will increase by 5 times. So earlier he was making one rotation in 2 seconds. Now in 2 seconds he will make how many rotations? 5 rotations. So 5 rotations is 10 pi radian. So 10 pi radian in 2 seconds, or in 1 second he will make 5 pi radian. So that is what is your answer. So the question is, find his final angular velocity if he pulls the dumbbells into his stomach, and your answer will be 5 pi radian per second. And the important physics is I1 omega 1 is equal to I2 omega 2. That is what is called conservation of angular momentum. So I have told you about test your understanding 10.1, test your understanding 10.4, test your understanding 10.5, and example 10.1, 10.5 and 10.10. Though 10.5 is now not in the syllabus, in the revised syllabus. And you have got assignment exercises. You write the assignment exercises, just the number bit question. 10.9, are you writing?
Yes, sir.
10.9, 10.18 and 10.39. So the questions are assignment exercises. So I will give you the answer in the next class. 10.9, 10.18 and 10.39. And tomorrow we have got a class from 2 to 4 p.m. I am now giving a mail in your section's mail ID to the central team so that they can go for the recording, and accordingly they will inform you also. Okay. So yes, Deep Tolia, yes. After chapter 6. Okay. Okay. So in the lecture note, what do you expect? What do you expect in the lecture note? No. What do you expect means what should be there in the lecture note? Should I send you the PPT? Should I send you the formula? Should I send you the test your understanding or only the assignment exercises? Because we have already discussed the test your understanding. We have already discussed the examples. Probably I have not discussed the assignment exercises. So I think from chapter 7, from chapter 6 onwards, that means from chapter 7, I will send you the assignment solution of the assignment exercises. Will it be okay? Okay, that will be feasible. That will be better, because instead of cramming so many things, now if you have understood the physics, only part is that assignment exercises I will send from chapter 7 onwards. Okay, so I think we should stop here, and we will be meeting tomorrow at 2 p.m. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.